Hardcore begins in a plank position with dumbbell drag throughs. You'll take the dumbbell right outside of one hand and then pull it to the other side. Do this without shifting your hips at all. That's going to require that you clench through your abdominals, tighten through your glutes, and make a concerted effort to avoid rotating at the hips. We're doing 8 total dumbbell drag throughs, and then we'll go into Renegade Rows. For a Renegade Row, take the dumbbell and pull it to your low rib cage. Do this also without shifting your hips. If you need to, come down to all fours, especially if your dumbbell is super duper heavy. You're going to find that you need to come down in all fours to prevent your hips from moving here. We're working your abdominals, your shoulders, your back, and your glutes here, all in one exercise. You have one more Renegade Row on the right. Then we're going to take your opposite hand and tap it to your opposite knee. No dumbbell here. Try to do this without significantly shifting your hips. If you want to intensify this move, instead of just tapping to your knee, tap your hand all the way to your shoelaces. If you need to modify the move, just tap your hand to your opposite shoulder as we show in the modified version. Now dumbbell side plank. Lift up to where the joints align and then tap back down to the ground. If this is too much for your shoulders, you can do this with body weight only. You can also ease up the work on the wrist and the bottom shoulder by dropping your bottom knee as you see in the modified option. I really want you to consider doing it with body weight only if you think there is any risk of potentially dropping iron on your head. Don't do that. And you'll do one more side plank, then make your way down to a seated position, drop the dumbbell down on the floor, get to seated for Russian twists. With Russian twists, the dumbbell goes opposite of your knees. So like windshield wipers, your knees go to one side, the dumbbell goes to the other. You could make this a little bit easier by keeping your feet down on the ground. It's much easier on the hip flexors, and you'll see that in the modified version. Next, make your way into a side plank on the other side. Reach the dumbbell high overhead where the joints align, and then tap back down to the ground. Notice my legs are in a stagger stance. You could intensify this by stacking the top heel on top of the bottom, or modify that stance by taking the knee down to the ground, which will make it easier on the wrist and shoulder. And again, feel free to do this without a dumbbell. If you did it without the dumbbell on the other side, I want you to make it even and do this without a dumbbell on this side as well. If you're using that same heavy weight that you used for lower body on Monday, this is an extremely heavy weight to use for hardcore today. We're going to make our way down to laying in supinated position, means belly facing up. I'm going to squeeze a dumbbell between my legs, not into the knees, but just below the knees, and squeeze it tight. You do not want to drop a dumbbell on your pubic bone, so don't put the dumbbell in there if you think there's a risk of potentially dropping it. It will intensify the work for the lower abs by adding the dumbbell, but safety first. So if you're worried that you might drop the dumbbell, then leave it down on the ground. Next, we're going to crunch pulses. For crunch pulses, you just barely lift the shoulders up off of the mat and keep them lifted for 8 pulses while still continuing to hold the dumbbell between the thighs. Take the dumbbell, hold it just above your shoulders, and toggle the legs over and under. So you're going to keep that isometric hold of the dumbbell directly over the shoulders and toggle those legs. The lower you go down towards the ground, the harder this is going to be for your abs. If you're feeling discomfort in your lower back, take the legs higher on that over-under. This is called a hollow rock hold. Your arms are right over your ears. Ideally, your head and neck are lifted up off of the ground. Try to drop the legs low towards the floor and hold it here, looking either at a diagonal or at your navel here as you hold your hollow rock hold for 30 seconds. It's an isometric exercise. Again, if you're feeling pain in your lower back, that is no good. Exercises should be uncomfortable, not sharp pain. So if you're feeling a sharp pain, you need to angle your legs a little higher to the ceiling. We're going to take the hands behind the head and then lift and twist into a sprinter sit-up. You take one elbow on the outside of the opposite knee as you lift into that sprinter sit-up. If this is a little bit too much, you could modify to a sprinter crunch, which means you would keep your lower and mid back down on the ground and just crunch with it. Or you can go into a bicycle crunch, which we show in your modified option video. This primarily is strengthening through your oblique muscles, your side abs. And your final move of the day, help yourself up to seated, turn over into prone, belly facing down. You're going to squeeze the dumbbell in between your inner thighs and then hold a high plank for 1 minute solid. So by taking that dumbbell and holding it in between your thighs, it is intensifying a plank, and a plank is already a super challenging exercise, especially putting it here at the very, very end of your set. So tough. If you need to, lose the dumbbell and do this with body weight only. You are still going to feel your back, your abdominals, all around the core, the delts, which are your shoulders. 1 minute's going to feel like about 15 minutes holding it right here. It's only 60 seconds of your life, and we got a break coming after this. My title slate is going to be very short, so have your pause button ready on your remote control to pause the video and break for just as long as you need to before coming back for 2 additional sets. So for hardcore, we're doing 3 sets, 8 reps of every exercise, 30 seconds on that hollow rock hold, and then a full minute on your weighted plank here as the sweet finisher as my gift to you. And go ahead, drop that dumbbell down, drop your knees to the floor. You may go into a couple cat-cows here. Good job, rest, and we'll repeat it 2 more sets.
it.